Hi guys, it's Lucy, and today I'm going to be doing my June wrap-up. Yes, this wrap-up is extremely late. I read 5 things in the month of June, which is not bad, not good. It could have been better, but I did start work in June, so that's my excuse. And yeah, and I started an extra book, which was a Game of Thrones, which, like my last couple videos, I mentioned. And yeah, I'm still halfway through. As always, I do these books in the order that I read them. So the first book that I read in June was The Complete Persepolis by Marjane Satrapi. This is a graphic memoir based on Marjane's life before, during, and after the Iranian Revolution. I just thought it was a very interesting look on how kind of wartime can affect a person's life. I haven't really read anything like this before, I think. I've read some like stuff about World War II and like things like that, but like nothing like this. And I think anything I've read about World War II has been fiction, and this is a memoir, so it's real life. Since this is a graphic memoir, I'm going to talk about the art style. I do not have the book with me, so I cannot show you what it looks like. It's a very simplistic art style, which I personally enjoyed. I thought it was effective in the storytelling because a lot of the book took place while she was a child or like younger, so I think it lent itself well to that part of her story. So overall, I gave this book 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it a lot. I felt like it was very powerful. I was very moved by a lot of the things that happened to her and the things that happened to the people around her. I felt tears come to my eyes multiple times throughout the whole novel. So yeah, that's a sign of a good book in my book. There's a movie based on this book, which I actually watched during my high school like global history class, and I really liked it then, which is what made me want to pick up this book. But I thought that I forgot a lot of it, but turns out I remember more than I thought I did. But I still want to rewatch the movie just because now, after reading the original source material, seeing how it compares to the screen, but I'm pretty sure they're pretty similar. The art style is definitely similar. I don't know if Marjane Satrapi like did the animation for the movie, but the art style is definitely very similar. The second book that I read during the month of June was Hyperbole and a Half by Ali Brosh. This book is mostly pictures, but it's not told in a graphic novel style, if that makes sense. I don't know, I guess you have to read it. It's mostly just pictures, and like there is dialogue in the pictures, but then they're captioned, which is where most of the action takes place, I feel like. I don't know. But anyway, I really enjoyed this book. It's also kind of a memoir kind of thing. It's just Ali Brosh telling select stories from her life. Most of them are pretty funny, and some of them are a little serious. There is a 2-part like comic in it about depression and how Ali Brosh dealt with it and how she felt. I thought the description of depression was very real and actually thought-provoking. I haven't really heard depression described in that way before, but overall the book was really funny, like even with the serious topics, and I ended up giving it a 4.5 stars. I actually tried to look up like Ali Brosh's blog after this, but it turns out like after the release of this book, she kind of just disappeared off the internet, which kind of sucks because like she probably has more stories and they're probably really fun. The third book that I read during the month of June was Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. This is my second Austen novel. The first one was Pride and Prejudice, and if you've been seeing my channel for any amount of time, you'll know that I love Pride and Prejudice so much. So after reading Pride and Prejudice, I clearly want to read all of Jane Austen's novels. So Sense and Sensibility was just the next step in that. And yeah, it kind of doesn't really live up to Pride and Prejudice, but it's still a very good book. Sense and Sensibility follows the Dashwood family as they do the things that people do in a Jane Austen novel, where mostly they just sit around and talk and gossip, and they go and try and find a man. And basically it mostly centers around the 2 sisters, Eleanor and Marianne, who are just like, you know, living life, trying to find a good man to get married to. And then it's also like extra people going on, and there's a lot of drama. I live for it. I enjoyed it very much. Jane Austen's sense of humor is very present throughout the novel, which is exactly what I'm looking for. I just feel like Jane Austen's sense of humor is just so great because you read it and then it's funny, and then you think about it in context of when she wrote it, and it's even funnier because just like someone from that time being so sassy is just, I don't know, great to me. I also found it interesting how this particular novel dealt with a closer family relationship than in Pride and Prejudice. And the Dashwoods consist of the mother, who I can't remember her name right now, and then the 2 sisters who I already mentioned, and it's basically them, and they're all kind of like best friends in kind of a way. Like even with the mom, they're just like a very tight-knit family, which I really appreciated, and I like seeing how that dynamic played out. My basic issue with it was that I found some of the romance to be really unbelievable. I just couldn't support it, which is why I had to take off a star, so it's 4 stars. But yeah, I enjoyed it, recommend it, especially if you like Jane Austen. The next book that I read during June was Lumberjanes Volume 1. This is written by Noelle Stevenson, Grace Ellis, and Brooke A. Allen. I'm pretty sure there's another creator involved in this, but I couldn't find their name because I don't have the book with me and Goodreads didn't list them. So yeah, but if there is, let me know who it is and I'll just like add an annotation or something. Basically, Lumberjanes follows a group of girls who are at a Girl Scout-esque summer camp, and they're finding out that maybe this summer camp is not what it seems. There may be something supernatural going on, and yeah, it's a good time. It showcases girl friendship because all of the main characters are girls, which is always good. This book gave me Gravity Falls vibes, which, if you're unfamiliar, Gravity Falls is like a Disney Channel cartoon, but it's like a really good cartoon. You should watch it. This book was clearly meant for a younger audience, which is why I don't think I enjoyed it as much as I could have, but I did enjoy it. I gave it 4 stars. I really liked it, and if you're looking for a fun, quick read, then I definitely recommend. The last book that I read during June was Night Film by Marisha Pessl. This book has been getting a lot of hype recently on BookTube, so I decided to join in on that hype and read the book, and the hype is well deserved. It is very good. I loved it so much. It was such a good book. Basically, the plot of this novel is that the daughter of a very famous reclusive horror film director is found dead, and her death is assumed to be a suicide, but one person, our main character, doesn't think that it's a suicide, and he decides he's going to investigate it. This proves to be very dangerous for him, because the last time he looked into Stanislaw Cordova, who was the horror film director, he basically lost his whole career and ruined his life. So yeah, it's dangerous territory he's about to jump into to try and investigate again. This read like I was a part of the case. I felt like I was involved in every aspect of trying to solve the suicide or murder or something. I very much enjoyed being part of this roller coaster ride. The added aspect of having mixed media involved, so there was like web pages and like files and things like that, mostly web pages, and like pictures and things like that, also added to this feeling of that I was part of the case, because I was like looking at the case stuff, if that makes sense. But the storytelling was great. I thought the characters were pretty realistic. They were not the most likable, but they were realistic, which is what matters. Overall, I gave it between 4 and 4.5 stars, which ended up rounded down to 4 stars on Goodreads, because my issues with it were mostly logistical. I just felt like some of it didn't make complete sense, and I know some of it you're supposed to feel like that, but some of it I was just like, this didn't make sense. For example, our main character, he was disgraced because of his last investigation, and he lost his job as a journalist. Throughout the novel, he spent a lot of money. There's never really any explanation on where he's getting the money because he doesn't have a job, so it's very confusing to me. And that was just like one little thing, but there were a bunch of like little logistical things that I thought didn't make a whole lot of sense, but I did overall really enjoy the novel and I do recommend it. So those are all the books that I read in the month of June. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you have any opinions about any of the books that I talked about in this video, please be sure to leave a comment down below. And if you like seeing me talk about books, please be sure to subscribe to my channel because I make more videos where I talk about books. Again, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye! I thought it was a very interesting, I'm so not used to like having a window and like there are people outside, and I just couldn't support it.